I'm Shannon Dorey, and this is my second video about the alien Nummo and the Dogon religion. In this video, I'd like to focus on the serpent-like aspect of the Nummo. The Dogon elder Ogatameli associated the Nummo with fish and lizards, but it was the serpent he used most often when referring to them. According to Joseph Campbell, the serpent had been revered in the Eastern Mediterranean for 7,000 years before the creation of the biblical book of Genesis. Even Moses worshipped the serpent. In 2 Kings 18:4 of the Bible, there's a reference to a bronze serpent that Moses had made and that the Israelites burned incense to. The bronze serpent was likely associated with the alien Nummo and the divine feminine, which in Moses' time was identified with the goddess Asherah. This pillar figure shows Asherah from Judea, dated 8th to 6th century BC. It's located at the Eretz Israel Museum, and she appears here with a long, wide neck and unjointed bones like the alien Nummo. This Dogon wood carving of the alien Nummo shows the female twin with her long, wide neck, resembling the neck of the goddess Asherah. Asherah has no human legs on this pillar, which further associates her with the alien Nummo, who are described as only having a fishtail. In Jeremiah 44:15-19 of the Bible, there are references to the Queen of Heaven that the women of Jerusalem burned incense to. They also poured drink offerings to her and made cakes in her image. Because the Nummo came from the stars, they were associated with heaven. Moses' bronze serpent was broken into pieces by Hezekiah, king of Judah, who reigned from around 716 to 686 BC. Hezekiah also smashed sacred stones and cut down Asherah poles, which were sacred trees or poles that honored the goddess Asherah. The green Egyptian serpent Wadjet is also associated with the green alien Nummo. She was known to the Greeks as Budo or Udo and appears in prehistoric Egypt, possibly dating back to the Paleolithic period, a time which extends from about 3.3 million years ago to about 11,650 years before the present. She was the sacred serpent of supreme power in ancient Egypt. The uraeus was a symbol that originated with Wadjet. She became the uraeus depicted on the headdresses of ancient Egyptian deities and sovereigns. This is a close-up of a green uraeus from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, dated 664 to 30 BC. In this depiction, the Nummo's casque or horn becomes the sun, a symbol of the Nummo and the divine feminine in the Dogon religion. This is a side view of the same figure. The going forth of Wadjet was celebrated on December 25th with chants and songs. The headdresses depicting the uraeus are often shaped like the Nummo's casque or hooded horn, referred to in my first video. Here is the Egyptian Akhenaten from the 18th dynasty, dated somewhere around 1353 to 1336 BC, wearing the uraeus on his headdress. In this image, Akhenaten appears to have breasts, which may have been deliberate because in many ancient cultures, including the Dogon, androgyny was associated with immortality and divinity. This is because, even though they were identified with the divine feminine, the alien Nummo were androgynous, self-fertilizing, immortal beings. Akhenaten also has a long neck that was a characteristic of the Nummo, and which we saw on the Asherah figurine. Akhenaten also turned away from previous religious beliefs in favor of worshipping the sun, a symbol of the divine feminine and the alien Nummo in the Dogon religion. This is a limestone relief at Amarna, the city Akhenaten founded in 1346 BC. It shows him with breasts, worshipping the sun, along with his wife Nefertiti and his children, dated from 1372 to 1355 BC. After Akhenaten's death, subsequent rulers switched back to the old ways and tried to remove any trace of Akhenaten. It was only in the 20th century when archaeologists discovered some remnants associated with the city Amarna that Akhenaten's existence became known to the world. This is a quartzite head of one of Akhenaten's 6 daughters found at Amarna, located at the Cairo Museum. Notice the long-shaped skull, similar to the wood carving of the alien Nummo shown earlier. Besides the Egyptian pharaohs, I believe that the Nummo's tall heads, horns, and hoods became associated with other tall religious hat styles that we find in various places. We find these tall hats at Knossos, Crete, on this close-up photo of the snake goddess, dated to 1600 BC. Notice the serpents on her arms. Because the alien Nummo were androgynous beings, they were considered dual, and as a result, twin serpents became a symbol associated with them. Serpents also appear on the arms of this mother in this earthenware maternity scene from ancient Gene-Genot, located in the inland Niger Delta region of Mali. Like the Dogon people who fled their original homeland because of their refusal to convert to Islam, I believe the people who lived in ancient Gene-Genot also fled religious persecution. This statue shows a lizard-headed baby with a casque or hood on her head, associating her with the chameleon-like Nummo. This sculpture is dated 1100 to 1400 and is located at the De Young Museum and referred to in my book, Day of the Fish. Tall hats were worn by French Cathars in this painting by the Spanish artist Pedro Berruguete. It was created in 1495, and it shows the heretic Cathars being burned to death, presided over by Saint Dominic, who died in 1221. This painting by Berruguete is making reference to the Christian crusade sent by Pope Innocent III to exterminate the Cathars in the south of France between 1209 and 1229. It is important to note that the Cathars were one of the most sophisticated, wealthy, and intellectual groups existing in Europe at the time they were exterminated by the Church. I refer to the Cathars in my book, The Nummo, because the symbols found in their religion are similar to Dogon symbols. The extermination of the Cathars was so extensive, it constituted one of the first genocides in modern European history. You can see the tall hats better in this close-up. According to Harold Bailey, those Cathars who survived the Catholic genocide fled to other countries, and many were printers and paper makers, and they brought this knowledge to their adopted countries. They began embedding the symbols of their faith into the paper they printed in the form of watermarks. These watermarks, or printer's marks, existed for several centuries beginning in 1282. According to Bailey, this particular Cathar watermark shows wisdom crowned with a cockle or scallop shell with twin serpents. The shell is an important symbol relating to the alien Nummo, who were aquatic beings. I believe the dual serpent, as a symbol of the alien Nummo, is the source of the caduceus symbol that has come down to us in modern times as a symbol for the medical profession. It appears here on this U.S. Army Medical Corps plaque. According to Bernice Engel, the caduceus appeared in the printer symbol or watermark used by the Swiss medical printer Johann Froben, who lived from 1460 to 1527. He depicted the staff entwined with serpents and surmounted by a dove with the caption, "Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." a line taken from Matthew 10:16 of the Bible. The serpents in the printer's mark have forked tongues, which was another characteristic of the alien Nummo. Because the alien Nummo were master geneticists, I believe the symbol of the twirling serpents on the Caduceus symbol is alluding to DNA. This painting by Hans Holbein the Younger, dated to around 1523, shows a different colored version of Froben's printer symbol, indicating the significance of the dual serpent symbol. Holbein was involved in producing printed propaganda that led to the Protestant Reformation, which according to Bailey was a direct result of the persecution of Cathars in France by the Catholic Church. Dual serpents appear on the top of this Chinese funeral banner from the Han tomb, dated 206 BC to 25 Common Era, and referred to in my book, The Nummo. This picture shows only the top of the banner. In the center is the Chinese goddess Noah, depicted with a human upper body and a serpent-tailed lower body. The funeral banner was found draped over the coffin in the grave of Lady Tai at Mawangdi, near Xisheng, Hunan province. Today it is found in the Provincial Museum located there. This is a painting of Noah from Myths and Legends of China by Edward Werner. According to Anne Burrell, the Wa part of the Chinese goddess Noah's name could be construed as frog, which is consistent with her aquatic myth. In Day of the Fish, I associate the alien Nummo with ancient frog goddesses because frogs are amphibians like the Nummo. Burrell further reports that Wa in Noah can be translated as spiral or helix, and when used as a verb, helical movement. These words suggest DNA, which is important in its association with the alien Nummo, who were geneticists and the creators of humanity. In Chinese mythology, the goddess Noah also created humans. Like the Nummo ancestors who cleaned up the earth after a world flood and devastation. Noah was credited with patching the holes in heaven after a great flood when heaven collapsed. These events are obviously referring to some catastrophic event that happened in space. Noah used 5 colored stones to do the patching, which were associated with the 5 Chinese elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. In the Dogon religion, the Nummo ancestors descended to earth after the flood in the celestial granary with all the DNA of all the animals to be reproduced on earth. In The Master Mistress of Speech, I suggest that Ogatameli's description of this event might have been the source of the biblical story of Noah and the ark and the world flood. Perhaps the biblical Noah's name originated with the Chinese goddess Noah. Dual serpents also appear on the Syrian cylinder seal, being held by a nude female figure standing on a bull. The holding of a serpent is a very ancient symbol that appears in various places around the world and is referred to in my book, Day of the Fish. This cylinder seal is dated between 1800 and 1650 BC. A Babylonian goddess also appears on the seal, wearing an Egyptian-style headdress with horns and a tall hat like the Nummo. It appears to have a caduceus image on it. The wavy pattern on top and below also remind us of the familiar double helix of DNA that seems to appear in conjunction with the double serpent on many of these ancient artifacts. This is the Hindu goddess Nagayakshi, worshipped mainly in South India, especially in Kerala and coastal Karnataka. She appears here on one side of the Pampa Makatoma gate in Kerala, India, holding dual serpents with 3 serpents above her. This goddess wears a caste-like hat or tall hood like the alien Nummo. In Gotland, Sweden, in the Porcelain Museum, we find a picture stone from Smiths, also depicting a woman holding two serpents, with three entwined serpents above her. DNA-like strands appear on this stone, along with the color red, which was a symbol of life in the Dogon religion. The stone is supposed to depict Verta and her dream from the Gudsa saga, a saga regarding the history of Gotland before Christianity. It was recorded in the 13th century and is kept in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. The woman reminds me of the Shilanogies. This particular Shilanogi is depicted on the west front of Rochester Cathedral in England, which was founded in 604. The diocese was created by the missionary Justus when converting the pagan Southern English to Christianity. According to Maria Gambudis, the Shilanogies, incorporated into old churches in medieval Ireland and England, were none other than the ancient frog or toad goddesses inherited from the Neolithic period. Earlier, the amphibious Nummo and the Chinese goddess Noah were associated with frogs. Instead of two serpents, this Shila holds two fish, which is important because dual fish was another symbol of the alien Nummo. A damaged zigzag line appears on the front of the cathedral, along with round bosses, which may be associated with the Nummo's bumps referred to in my first video. Zigzag lines appear again on the edge of this cameled hair tapestry weave tunic from the Nazca Wari culture of Peru. The tunic shows dual catfish with serpent-like bodies. The fish that was most associated with the alien Nummo was the catfish. The main pattern of the Peruvian tunic, dated from 800 to 850, consists of two catfish with spotted zigzag bodies facing each other at the center line of the tunic. The spots may be associated with the Nummo's bumps. The wearing of special tunics like this one had religious, ethnic, and social significance in the Nazca Wari culture. This particular tunic is located at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. A zigzag line was used by the Dogon people to not only represent DNA, but to describe how the aquatic Nummo, who were amphibians, moved across the land. The catfish on the Nazca Wari tunic also have red eyes, like the alien Nummo. Two red beads worn on the nostrils of some Dogon women celebrated the Nummo and depicted their red eyes. Some of you may also be familiar with the Nazca lines, a group of very large geoglyphs made in the soil of the Nazca Desert in Peru, created between 500 BC and 500 Common Era, and which can best be seen from the sky. This photo shows Nazca lines of a tree lizard viewing tower in the Pan American Highway to give you some idea of the immense size of the lines. The lizard, which is depicted here, was a symbol of the alien Nummo. In my first video, I referred to the rainbow serpent aspect of the alien Nummo and its association with the Australian rainbow serpent, which appears in the rock art at the time of the Yam period, beginning around 6,000 years ago. I also referred to the Maya goddess Ixchel, whose name in hieroglyphics means large rainbow. Like the chameleon aspect of the alien Nummo, Ixchel appears with a lizard tail on a ceramic codex, and appears here again on this ceramic figurine with twin serpents on her head. Dated from 250 to 900, this ceramic was displayed at the Maya exhibition at the Royal British Columbia Museum in Victoria, Canada. She holds a tree in her hand, which is likely associated with the tree of life. This is another snake goddess from Knossos, Crete, shown with shells and a snake in each hand. This goddess has lines across her belly like the alien Nummo had, and a horn or bird-type object on her head. In the Dogon religion, shells were used for currency because of their association with the aquatic Nummo. Shells also appear on the costume of Hopi snake dancers of northern Arizona. This is a picture of a dancer taken in 1900 by Joseph Curtis. Notice the shells around his neck. Zigzag armbands appear on his arms. This is a Hopi snake dance of Moshanavie, Arizona, dated 1895. The zigzag lines appear on their skirts. According to the caption of the picture, the Hopi were one of the few surviving indigenous peoples who still retain their ancient rituals, unmodified by the Christian religion. In Brush Creek, Adams County, Ohio, we find Serpent Mound, which was constructed around 200 BC. The Nummo were associated with lizards, and a lizard mound was also found at Granville, Ohio. The mounds are depicted in my book, Day of the Fish, and were recorded by Ephraim Squire and Edwin Davis in The Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley, published in 1848 by the Smithsonian Institute. A similar serpent, which spread across the countryside, appeared at Hackpen Hill at Avebury in Wiltshire, England. According to Harold Bailey, on the spur of the hill stood the ruined remains of the head of a colossal rock temple that once stretched in the form of a serpent for over 3 miles. This is a map of Avebury Temple in the form of the serpent drawn by William Stuckley in 1740. A head from the Neolithic period was found in Nevelshori, Turkey, which has a serpent carved onto the back of it. The Neolithic period was from 4300 to 2000 BC. We also find a serpent carved onto the back of this female head located in the Indianapolis Museum of Art from ancient Gene in Mali. This is a front view of the figure showing dual serpents on her stomach below her breasts. This particular mother goddess was photographed by Christian Sharita and is from the Kukuten culture, dated from 3800 to 3600 BC. It was discovered in Romania and is located at the Petra Net Museum. Notice the long neck and serpent-like body, similar to what we saw with the Ur figurines in my first video, and associated with the descriptions of the alien Nummo. Here are other Kukuten goddess figurines from the Vienna Austrian Natural History Museum. The immortal serpent-like alien Nummo had the ability to connect with plants and animals on the earth in a way that was not understood by most humans. They also had the ability to predict the future. Some early humans also had these abilities, but over time they became lost to humanity. Anyone possessing the pythonical spirit was stoned to death, as was reported in Leviticus 20 of the Catholic Douay-Rheims Bible. This divine gift, which might have helped us to connect with our environment, was systematically destroyed. Ignorance, fear, and greed have left us with an earth that has been almost completely ruined, both spiritually and physically. In my next video, I'd like to focus on the androgynous nature of the alien Nummo. For more information, you can refer to my books and website, shannondorey.com. Thank you for watching.